So before we get into it, I would like to reiterate, I know it's been stated before, but I'd like to reiterate for the Naval Academy that due to the effect of COVID-19 on standardized testing, we get probably our most frequently asked question right now is, what do I do if I want to apply? I haven't taken the SAT or the ACT yet. The answer is the same for us as it is for everyone else. We know they're canceled. We expect them to reopen right in the August-September timeframe. You can apply with your PA-SAT. If you don't even have that, reach out to admissions counselor. We will help you start your application. So bearing that in mind, let's move forward. So first question, where is the Naval Academy? The Academy is located in Annapolis, Maryland, about 25 miles equidistant from Baltimore and Washington, and we call our campus the Yard. It's a very vast, expansive place with world-class facilities all around. The biggest and most iconic building being Bancroft Hall, where all 4,000 midshipmen will live for all 4 years there. You can see a little bit of the services that are provided all within Bancroft Hall: barbershop, armory, a little store, your laundry, cobbler shop, post office, medical, dental. Basically everything you could want, you have in there. You could live on that campus for 4 years and never leave. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but in theory you could. We also have a ton of athletic facilities, both on the Yard itself and across the Severn River at the Naval Base, Annapolis. We have 3 pools, 5 weight training facilities. These are open to all midshipmen to use, because you will be involved in athletics in some capacity at the Naval Academy. We'll get into that in a minute. So here we like to say it's not about the 4 years you spend at the Academy, it's about setting yourself well for the next 40. These are some of our favorite accolades that we have. One of my favorites is number 4, mid-career highest paid graduates. That's a very prestigious list, and number 1 on that list, just a fun fact, is a small university in California that not a lot of people have heard of. So how is the Brigade of Midshipmen made up? We are required by law to pull from all 50 states, territories, and some foreign midshipmen from all walks of life, to include active duty sailors and Marines. Generally, we look for people who are leaders, scholars, and athletes. Not just one, we're looking for a full package. How does it break down right now? As of the most recent class, it's 72% male and 28% female, although that number has been trending towards 30% over the past couple of years. The education here is world-class. We have 25 available majors. Some of the newest ones we have include cyber operations. We are about to be complete with a whole cyber operations building called Hopper Hall. We're the only public school in the country with a dedicated cyber operations building, and that is to serve that new cyber operations major. A lot of the professors teaching those classes will be former NSA security specialists. It's a really great opportunity. It wasn't there when I was there. Another new one we have, or relatively new, is nuclear engineering. That's on the engineering side of the house. But say you're not interested in engineering or math and science, that's fine. You can also major in humanities or social sciences. We have those over there on the right. However, bear in mind, if you do choose to major in a humanity, you have to minor in a language, and those are listed down there. The only 2 languages that we have available to major right now are Chinese and Arabic. So this is what the 4 years at the Academy looks like as far as your academic curriculum. You read across the top, you see 4C, 3C, 2C, 1C. Read that as your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years. Now you can see all kinds of classes, but I want to draw your attention to the math and the science specifically. You can see that this is the core curriculum. It doesn't matter what your major is. You will still take 3 semesters worth of calculus plus 1 more, either statistics or differential equations. You'll do a year of chemistry, a year of physics, in addition to everything else. And we have new courses. We have a core course in cyber. We have a core course in electrical engineering and weapons engineering. These are taken by even the English and history majors, which is why coming out of the Naval Academy, no matter what you major in, you will graduate with a Bachelor of Science. And just in case you're wondering, you may be wondering, look at all that white space there. Those are not free periods necessarily. Those are where your major classes start to come in. In the spring semester of your first year there, you'll declare a major, and you'll start gradually transitioning to your major classes, to the point where your senior year, you'll be taking at least half or more major courses. And one of the great benefits to going to the Naval Academy is the very small class size. It's a really, really small, great environment for learning. Average student to faculty ratio is 8-to-1, and there will never be more than 25 students in a classroom. That is nearly unheard of in public universities. And that close contact with the faculty is invaluable. I can speak from personal experience. I was a physics major myself. I really relished that time with the instructors to help me understand when I was having difficulty. And they will be more than happy to provide it for you. So I'll give everyone a minute to take this in. This is a typical day in the life, and it looks very daunting, especially when you're a young kid and you haven't really experienced anything like this before. 5:30 wake up for conditioning, 3 formations a day, 6 academic periods, athletic period, a mandatory study period, lights out 11. Repeat. Now, if you're not intimidated by that and you say, I have great time management, I can get it all done, that's great. The effect of this is it will make you even better. You will become more organized, more efficient with your time. It really benefits you in the long term. As I said before, you will be an athlete in some capacity, and we'll get into the other athletics, but we're going to spend a moment talking about varsity sports. We have the 3rd highest number of varsity programs in the country, behind The Ohio State University and Stanford in California. I won't go over them all exhaustively, but I will say if you are interested in maybe becoming a recruited athlete, we can't directly address that in admissions. What we advise you do is go to navysports.com, find the sport you play, and feel free to reach out to the coaching staff and ask what they're looking for in a recruit. Club sports, it's like varsity. It's a little less competitive. I won't say a little less competitive, just a little smaller in scale. A lot of these teams still travel, they still compete, include especially the men's and women's rugby teams. They travel all up and down the eastern seaboard, competing against other schools. I myself was on the rugby team for a couple of years and had a great time on it. So if you're maybe less athletically inclined, not a varsity or club athlete, you'll be participating in intramurals. So how that works is the brigade gets together and votes every semester on 5 of those sports that you see up there right now. Top 5 get picked, and the 30 companies in the brigade compete for what's called the Commandant's Cup. And they win at the end of the semester. They get a little party themselves. It's great. My favorite was always racquetball. Now, there are some what's called athletic exceptions. For example, if you're in the Drum and Bugle Corps, the Naval Academy Band, instead of going to your intramural practice, you will likely go to your band rehearsal. There are a number of ECAs that grant what's called that athletic exception. Some of them are there on the right. Speaking of extracurriculars, we've got a couple slides here focusing on ECAs. This should not be considered an exhaustive list. Basically, if you have an interest, whether it's culture, music, service, military, etc., there is probably a club for it already. And if there's not, it's very easy to start one at the academy. All you need is 2 midshipmen and a faculty member to sponsor you creating the club. Just as an example, you see up in there in the right, that is the Naval Academy Silent Drill Team. Now they are just an ECA, but they still travel, they still perform and compete at silent drill events all across the country. Had several friends on that team and they said it was a great experience. Now as a mid, about 1 in every 4 midshipmen will go abroad in an official capacity during their time at the Naval Academy, whether that's part of a semester study abroad program or otherwise. You do not have to be a language major to do this. There are shorter duration programs. Using myself as an example, I spent a week and a half in Israel as part of the Language, Cultural Expertise, and Regional Experience program. It was really, really cool. A fantastic week. I could travel the whole country and learn a whole lot about a place I'd never been. There are too many specific opportunities to list here. That's run out of our international programs office, but you will likely have an opportunity to go abroad as a midshipman if you're looking for it. So the benefits to being a midshipman. Going to the academy is a full scholarship. You do not pay money to go. We cover tuition, room and board, medical, dental, everything you need to keep yourself healthy. In fact, you do get paid to go here. You can see there about $1,100 a month. However, when you arrive at the Naval Academy, you take what's called an Advance for Clothing Equipment, or ACE loan, and that pays for your uniform issue, computer issue, your books, and the stuff that you get issued over that 4 years, and that pay is deducted month by month to pay it back. But of course, as that loan gets paid back, your paycheck starts to get bigger and bigger. Now, at the Naval Academy, we are a year-long leadership development facility. So while your friends are off at regular school, going home for 3 months, you will be continuing to develop yourself. And we're hoping that's what you're looking for. That's not to say you won't get an opportunity to go home at all. Some are generally divided into 3 blocks of 4 weeks. Barring anything unusual, like you failed a class, have to take mandatory summer school, or you've chosen to take summer school, or you've taken an internship, you will have the opportunity to go home on summer vacation for one of those months. The other 2 months will be divided between a fleet cruise and a leadership development experience. It's quite a lot to go into. Generally, that fleet cruise is designed to get you exposure to the real Navy. The enlisted experience, meaning you will shadow an enlisted person aboard a real Navy ship for a month. You will go underway, you'll live with them and experience their life for a month. The junior summer, the career exposure, is a program we have called Professional Training for Midshipmen, or ProTraMid. That is going to be one of your biggest sources of community exposure, meaning you get to spend a week with the surface community, you get to spend a week with the submarine community, you get to spend a week in aviation, and then you get to spend a week with the Marine Corps. And we'll get into the differences between the communities in a minute. The other block can be made up, it's quite a bit more diverse than the fleet cruise. Your freshman summer is plebe summer. That is our basic training, lasts about 8 weeks. Nothing else goes on that first summer. It's just plebe summer. Then the following years, you may get into the sailing or yard patrol programs, where you take either one of those yard patrol craft you see down there in the corner, or one of our sailing vessels, sail up and down the East Coast, and practice your leadership and navigation. Other leadership details you can have include plebe summer on the other end, meaning you are now the trainers. You are creating the next generation of midshipmen, and that happens in your senior summer. So that's generally a breakdown of how you spend your summers at the Academy. So at the end of all that, you graduate with a Bachelor of Science and be commissioned as an officer in the Navy or Marine Corps with a minimum 5-year service commitment. That number can be modified depending on your community selection. Just as an example, I'm a naval aviator. That means I'm obligated to 8 years after I receive my wings. And for NFOs, that number is 6. So that number can vary, but most generally it's 5 years. So we're gonna take a short minute to address a short overview of what the major warfare communities are and what they do. First one is surface warfare. It's everything you think about when you think of Navy. You think it's driving ships, sailing around, you are seeing the world, you're pulling into port everywhere. And the specifics of what you do on your job can vary vastly, depending on the position you're actually assigned. You can be the weapons officer aboard the ship, meaning you're responsible for everything involving the guns. You can be a junior engineering officer. You can be a navigator. There's really too much to get into here, but there's a lot of variation in the specifics of your day-to-day, but you will be qualifying in ship driving no matter what. Submarine warfare, similar. There's also a lot of variance in the specifics of your job. Similarly, you'll be learning to drive a sub. The difference is, whereas in the surface community, you only do a short leadership training course, takes about a month, month and a half, and then you report to your first ship. It is almost certainly the fastest academy to operational transition. Submarines, the training pipeline is a bit more extensive. It takes usually 18 to 24 months. It involves going to nuclear power school in South Carolina, and then going to what's called prototype, where you learn the basics of driving a submarine. Generally, that takes at least 18 months before you report to your first sub. Now onto my favorite, aviation. About a third of every graduating class goes into naval aviation between Navy and Marine Corps. Now that training is also quite a bit longer. It took me about 3 years. I won't go into the specifics, but you go down to start flight school in Pensacola, and you will, at the end of your first block of training, you will find out what community you're going into, whether it's the maritime community, you see it on the left, that's a P8. the fixed wing community where you're flying jets, or the helicopter community on the right. And following getting your wings, you report to your fleet replacement squadron to learn to fly your Navy-specific aircraft before reporting to your first actual squadron. So, special warfare, the SEALs and EOD. If you think you are the best, you can handle any challenge that is given to you. No one is going to tell you otherwise, no matter who that is. Look for these guys. They won't come looking for you. The selection process for SEALs and EOD is rigorous and quite intense. The good news about that is, just an example, a lot of people are aware of the Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL, BUDS, taught down in Coronado, California. Very famous for being some of the most difficult military training in the world. The Academy selects have about a 90% completion rate or graduation rate going through BUDS, which is very, very high compared to the general dropout rate, which hovers around, I think, 60 to 70% don't make it. So just a quick difference between SEALs and EOD. The EOD is a little more specialized. They're Navy, they form both the Navy diving and salvage units, and they are the Navy's bomb squad. They perform render safe procedures on everything from conventional ordnance. They train how to disarm nuclear, biological, chemical weapons. They are really the ones to call. They're also the smallest unrestricted line community. There's only a few hundred officers in the Navy in EOD. SEALs is quite a bit bigger. And as a side note, all of these warfare communities are open to both men and women. As of yet, there have not been any women who've actually completed and qualified as SEALs, but the opportunity is open. Last one we got is our beloved Marine Corps. They also have their own selection process, which starts right around your junior year. You'll be assigned a Marine Corps mentor to help guide you through the process. And that sort of sets in stone if you want to be a Marine. The summer training coming into your senior year, it's a month-long training called Leatherneck, and it happens down in Quantico, Virginia, where they train actual Marine Corps officers at the basic school. And it's a month-long course designed to test and train you, see what your leadership ability under pressure is like. And at the end of that, the staff of Leatherneck will recommend you or not for selection into the Marine Corps. It's not as hard as, it's not as daunting as it seems. If you are really determined and you've got the grit, they can select you. It's pretty rare to actually not get recommended. So I'm going to give everyone a minute to have a look through this slide. This just breaks down, and this is a very typical year of how many we assign to each service community. Now you see, as I mentioned earlier, we break it down into several communities, but there's Navy pilot, Navy flight officer, and Marine Corps pilot. That combined together usually forms about a quarter to a third of the graduating class. So if you want to fly Navy, if you want to land on ships, you actually have a very good shot at doing it. You may be wondering over there on the right, what is restricted line, what is staff corps? Those most generally, and I'll get into a little bit specific in a minute, most generally restricted line is for some mids who experience maybe some medical problems or have an injury at the academy that medically disqualifies them from going unrestricted line. So they're assigned to one of these restricted lines to still serve, but just in a different community. There are some exceptions to that. Another one we get a ton of questions about is, how do I go Med Corps? How do I be a Navy doc? Quick breakdown of how that works. You have to declare that relatively early on. We do not have a biology or a pre-med department. So close we get, you work with the chemistry department, and they'll teach you how to get ready. They'll teach you organic chemistry, biochemistry, as close as we can get, and they'll help you get ready to take the MCAT in your junior year and then apply to med school. You do have to apply and get in on your own. We typically have between 7 to 12 Med Corps officers every year. It's difficult, but it can be done. So if we have any younger members of our audience here, if you're 9th, 8th grade right now, I'm going to go over this really quick. Just know up front that this year, due to the effect of COVID-19, all of our summer programs have been canceled. But we'll break them down here just in case we've got younger people looking to apply next year. This is the summer STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. It's a 6-day program taught in several sessions throughout June. It's taught by real professors and midshipmen in our lab facilities. It's a really great program if you're just wanting to at least, you can visit the academy and get sort of experience in STEM communities. The other one, this is summer seminar. This is only for rising seniors, as in you would apply for this in your junior year. It's similar, 6 days long, taught throughout June. The difference is this is a little more military focused, and it's designed to help show you or help you answer the question, is midshipman life for me? Again, this has been unfortunately canceled for this year, but if you are a freshman or sophomore right now, you will still be able to apply for this in the future. So our basic eligibility is not different than any other service academy. You have to be at least 17 and less than 23 by July 1st of your year of entry. You have to be a U.S. citizen by the time you enter. If you're not a citizen yet, that's fine. You just have to be by the time you're actually inducted. You can't be married, you can't be pregnant, and you can't have any obligation to support children and good moral character. So this is a screenshot of the Naval Academy Admissions website, usna.edu/admissions. You go up to that top bar, you click apply, and you can apply, start your application right now, and you'll be put in touch if you have any questions with an admissions counselor like me. We're going to take you a minute to break down how the application works. It is fairly long. That is, the length of the application is part of the application. A lot of people don't finish. That may have been competitive if they had just finished their application. So a lot of things that you would expect, and a lot of things the other service academies have already gone over. You do have to provide a personal statement. It'll be the same prompt. Why do you want to go to the Naval Academy, and describe an event, a significant event in your life that influenced your character. You have to do the candidate fitness assessment. We'll get into that a little more detail in a minute. You work with your school counselor to submit your activities record, your academic information, a recommendation from a math and English teacher, and your official transcript. Now, unfortunately, currently, we cannot accept any form of electronic transcript. It does have to be a hard copy mailed to the academy. Now, the candidate fitness assessment consists of those 6 events you see up there. If you are wondering how to prepare for that, there are guides on the Academy Admissions website about how to get ready for the CFA. It can be administered by any of those people there on the right. Just know that if you take it and you don't think you did that well, you can retake it as many times as you want, and we'll only take the best score. We see a lot of applications that could have been really competitive, kind of hampered by a poor or even a failing CFA score. But don't worry, if you're not doing that well, we will ask you to take it again, but you're always welcome to keep trying. The other piece is your medical qualification. It's the same place that does it for every other service academy: Department of Defense Medical Exam and Review Board. How this works is once you are halfway complete with your application, you'll be automatically generated information from DODMER with instructions on how to schedule your appointment. That's not to say that it's the same requirements for every academy, it's just that the same institution does it for all the academies. Last piece has already kind of been covered here, but I'll go over briefly. You do need a nomination. You're usually eligible to be nominated from at least 4 of those sources that you see up there. Now, the interesting thing about the domicile requirement, let's say we have some people who have gone off to college. They're applying not out of high school, they're applying out of college. They're from New Mexico, but they currently live in Texas. You can choose either one of those states to apply for your nomination. You can choose either where you currently reside or your home of record, but once you pick one, you have to stick with that one and verify that through admissions or your nomination staff. So this is generally what the candidate cycle looks like. It starts roughly in the spring semester of your junior year. And it would in other years have summer seminar in there. Unfortunately, that's going away this year. We expect it to be back next year. Just know, even if the application opens on April 1st, even if you were done with it on April 2nd, our admissions board does not start meeting until September, so there's no way you can get told you're coming to the academy until then at the absolute earliest. The application, the final deadline is January 31st. Everything has to be in by then. We will let you know the results of your application by the April 15th, and then you have to let us know by the National College Decision Day, May 1st. So to break it down, your preliminary application makes you an official candidate. You put all your pieces together, you go to the admissions board, get your physical call, your medical call, and get your nomination. Then you're eligible to compete for your appointment. That is the only way to get it. Now, if you go on sites like collegeboard.com, you may notice the Academy has an accept rate of somewhere like 8 or 9%. It seems really, really intimidating to see such a low number. But I want to break down a little bit what that number really means. That number consists of anyone who has gone onto the Naval Academy's website and clicked apply. That hovers between 15 to 17,000 people a year. How many of those people actually finish? It's usually closer to around 3,000. And of those, we pick about 1,100 to come direct to the Academy, another 200 to 300 to go to one of our prep programs. So your actual odds of getting accepted, if you actually finish your application, are closer to 45, 50%. On the topic of our prep programs, we have two. One is the Naval Academy Preparatory School in Newport, Rhode Island. Accepts between 230, 250 students, sailors, and Marines. What NAPS is for generally is, let's say you're otherwise an excellent candidate, great fitness, you're captain of the football team, you've got student body president, got a ton of leadership experience, but we saw you kind of struggled in math or chemistry. We're going to make you an offer to the prep school, and what that's going to do is help get you physically and academically ready to do well at the Naval Academy. And NAPS works very well. They tend to not have a ton of academic problems coming out of there because they've got the good habits and good study skills that they built there. The other prep program is our Naval Academy Foundation program. It consists of 16 civilian and military prep schools we're affiliated with across the nation. That's a little bit smaller, only about 40 to 50 students get accepted into that. An example of why you might get offered foundation is, let's say you waited too long to apply for a nomination and you missed the nomination deadline, but you're otherwise a great candidate. We'll tell you, hey, sorry you didn't get a nomination. We'd also like to offer you acceptance into the foundation program. Now, bear in mind, it is not a separate application. You do not need to apply to the prep school. We make that decision in admissions. Just apply direct to the Naval Academy, and if we decide you're better fit for NAPS, we'll offer you that. So general advice to make yourself competitive in admissions to the Academy: strong foundation, both math and science. All those classes you see there, chemistry and physics with the lab if possible. Bear in mind, again, we do not have a biology department. If you have to pick, between doing AP chemistry your senior year or bio, we recommend you pick chemistry because, again, we do not teach bio. There is no minimum GPA. Just strive to be in the top 20% of your class. Going to take that third bullet, take your SAT early and often. Take it when you can. There is no minimum. Just bear in mind that you're competing against all the other people who want to go. AP honors and IB courses are always encouraged, and we like to talk about our holistic approach. We want a whole person, not just a superstar athlete, not just student body president, not just academically gifted. We want everything. And if you need anything else, these are the top 5 reasons to go Navy. It is a full scholarship. You don't pay to go here. And once you are done here, you get a guaranteed job, a fantastic job. It's a wonderful location. didn't really go too much into that, but what surrounds the academy is downtown Annapolis, the capital of Maryland. You can walk out the gates and be in one of the biggest tourist destinations on the East Coast. Number 4, leadership character development. I firmly believe this is the finest institution for that because the character development never ever stops. And in case you're intimidated by anything you've seen, just know that it's about an 89 to 90% graduation rate. If you are willing to put in the effort and at least a try and make use of the resources available to you, it's very likely you will graduate. So that's about wrapping it up for now. Feel free to follow us on any social media of your choice, or visit us at usna.edu/admissions to apply, or go to navysports.com if you're interested in being a recruited athlete. So I'm going to stop the presentation there, and we're going to go take some questions from chat. Okay, let's see. Question, could you ask a 9th or 10th grade English teacher? No, you need 11th or 12th grade, or if you're already in college, your current math and English teacher, or 12th grade. Well, Scott, is there a way to take a virtual tour? We're actually working on a virtual tour right now. Keep an eye out for that. It's not quite ready yet. When we know if we get to be an official candidate, you will be contacted by email with your candidate number. Please make use of that candidate number, as it's a lot more easy to keep track of you by that number than by your last name. Oh, God knows how many Joneses we have that apply every year. It helps if you include that in any communication you have with admissions. Question from Darian. Because summer seminar and other summer programs are canceled, there may be overnight stays and other opportunities. We do have another exposure program just to help people get out and experience the academy. It's called Candidate Visit Weekend. That runs in several sessions throughout the fall and the spring. We don't have current information for the fall yet, but definitely keep an eye out for that. How that works is you fly out to the academy, you meet a current freshman at the academy, and you get to spend a couple days with them, going to class with them, just experiencing what their life is like. So yes, there will be other opportunities to visit the academy. Question from Benjamin. Did I understand that music programs would substitute for athletic classes? No, I think you might be getting a couple things confused. Athletic classes, there are mandatory athletic classes every year, as you know, boxing, wrestling your plebe year, then swimming, you have a couple swimming classes. Once you're a senior, you get to take PE electives. So those will still be mandatory. However, if you are involved in one of the music programs, like the Pipe and Drum Corps, like the Drum and Bugle Corps, that may get you an athletic exemption, meaning that afternoon sports period where you would normally be playing your intramural, you'll be going to practice instead. Oh, the chat's going too fast here. Is there an age limit to complete a preliminary application? We kind of went over that with the basic eligibility. You just have to be older than 17 and less than 23 by the time you enter. Are there any marksman programs at the Naval Academy? Yes, you will qualify on rifle and pistol during plebe summer. Let's see. Since we're in lockdown, less leadership opportunities, what are some good alternatives to gain more leadership experience? There's no simple answer for that. The easiest answer I can give is try and get involved with whatever you can. There's always a way to put it somewhere on your application, even if there's nothing in the drop-down box. We can always work with you and take into account everything you've done. Got a question. If we were accepted into summer seminar, we already completed a preliminary application. Will we receive the package, or do we need to complete the application again? I may have to get back to you on that one because it was canceled. To my knowledge, if you have been accepted into summer seminar, your preliminary application is done. But please send me a follow-up email on that. My email is dan@usna.edu.
Hi, Lieutenant Dan. I just wanted to confirm that if you did fill out an application for summer seminar, you do not have to fill out another preliminary application. You'll be hearing from us at the very end, probably of May, as to your candidate status.
Let's see. Oh, do we fly ourselves to Annapolis for in-processing, or does the academy take care of that? The answer is kind of. Once you get accepted and you get to permit to report packet, you'll be able to be reimbursed for the flight that you get, is the short answer. Looks like that's about all the questions we're getting. I will stick around for as long as we have anyone who's got something they want to know. Oh, if you can't make varsity school sports, do recreational, I assume sports outside of school look good for candidates? Absolutely. Any kind of athletic participation. Can a program like SLCDA help out applying for the academy? Miss Louise, do you know what that is? I'm not sure what that abbreviation is. You're muted.
No, I'm not. I don't know what that is. Oh, Summer Leadership Character Development Academy.
Oh, Summer Leader Character Development Academy. I have not heard of that, but you can certainly list it. I imagine it can only help you. Does ROTC scholarship cover all the expenses and stipend like an academy? I'm not sure. I can't answer a ton of questions about ROTC. Maybe Miss Louise, do you know anything about ROTC?
Yes. I was actually an ROTC graduate, and that was my commissioning source. They do give you a stipend. They will cover books, but not everything is included like it is in an academy. And at a service academy, you can literally show up with the clothes on your back and you'll be issued everything.
If you already passed the CFA and physical, I assume that's the medical physical, do you need to retake them if you're reapplying to academy next year? I would always recommend you try and do better on the CFA. However, your medical qualification is good for 2 years. So you don't have to do that part again.
At the United States Naval Academy, you can take the CFA as many times as you'd like to max
Oh yeah,
out.
say it again.
Take it as many times as you can. And we post our max scores, the max scores on the website. So you might want to take a look at that. Great point, Ms. Harrison, about the scholarship, the ROTC scholarships not covering room and board.
Oh, how can someone get onto a varsity sport? Do you get scouted or do you have to try out? Yes. The answer is it depends on the sport. Some varsity sports will take walk-on tryouts, some do not.
The interesting thing at the Naval Academy, 1/3 of the student body, they're playing varsity sports. So that means there are actually a lot of walk-ons. So at a small school like the Naval Academy, you do have the opportunity to play in a varsity sport in college.
How is BUDS different from underwater egress training? So, BUDS is the primary SEAL training or the first part of the SEAL training program, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL School. That's down in Coronado, California. Underwater egress training is something that's taken by a ton of different service members, especially pilots. If you want to know generally what the underwater egress training is, just go to YouTube and type in Helo Dunker. That's it. It'll show you exactly what it is. It's pretty fun. Does Naval Academy have NCAA baseball D1? Yes, we do. What does life look like after the academy? Great question. Depends on what your service assignment is. If you want to contact me offline, dan@usna.edu, I'd be happy to tell you what life looked like for me after the academy, but bear in mind that may not be everyone's experience.
So Sequoia just asked a pretty interesting question about submitting different CFA scores or candidate fitness assessment scores. Does it replace it, or does it just keep adding to it? Lieutenant Dan?
We will keep all of the scores, but we will take your best score. I didn't see it in the slideshow, but is jiu-jitsu included as in any club or just judo and karate? As far as I know, there actually is a jiu-jitsu. I don't think it's a club. I think it's an ECA. It's not an actual club sport. At least there was when I was there. Hopefully it is still there. Someone interested in intelligence services. So the short answer is yes, Naval Intelligence is one of the restricted line communities you can commission into after graduation. If we pulled a hamstring or any other injury during high school, will that lower our chances of getting into the academies? The hard answer is maybe. If you are not able to physically complete the requirements, it may delay your entry. We'll work with you as much as we can, and you'll be working with, I'm sure, your own medical docs on getting you up and healthy. But if you're not able to physically do what is required, you will not be accepted. Oh, someone added on the intel question, going Marine Corps, you can actually select several different intelligence communities out of the basic school. That's the first training you go to after graduation. When doing the CFA, do you have to do all events at the same time, or can you do them separately? No, that's very important for when practicing for the CFA. You have to do them all one after the other. It makes it surprisingly difficult. And that is the way we recommend that you practice it, is exactly like the test is administered. Great question so far. Are there any waivers or exceptions with height? So I don't think there's any height limit to be admitted to the academy. However, I will say when you're going towards specific communities, specifically aviation, you do what's called your anthropomorphic measurements, and they take a bunch of different measures of you, your sitting height, your knee length, your leg length, basically everything you can think of. And the point of that is to make sure that you can safely occupy one of the aircraft and, or importantly, safely use an ejection seat. I don't know those offhand, and it's very, very specific. But and sometimes it's bizarre. A person of otherwise average height and average weight can sometimes be disqualified from aviation just because of, their knees are too long. It sounds weird, but that's just sort of one of the harsh realities.
So someone asked about what order should we practice the candidate fitness assessment in? And you actually practice it, it's within 40 minutes, you do those 6 events, and those 6 events in order are the basketball throw, the pull-ups, shuttle run, crunches, and then push-ups, and then a 1-mile run.
We kind of answered that one. So when submitting multiple CFA scores, does the best overall score replace your old results, or can one event replace a past event? You kind of answered your own question. Your best score takes precedence. If I'm enlisted Army, could I apply to the Academy? The short answer is yes. However, applying from enlisted is a bit more complicated. It's a little bit harder, and they may be looking for different things since your chain of command has to sign off on your application. If I'm attending New Mexico Military Institute in the fall and I've already received a nomination from my home state of New Jersey, do I reapply for a nomination from my New Jersey senators and congressmen or New Mexico? So from what I understand, you're junior now, you're about to be senior, you're applying, you've already got the nomination. I would stick with the nomination that you have, but
You have to reapply. I'm sorry.
am I misunderstanding this here?
No, going in the fall, see the nomination, reapply. So if you're going there for prep and you're not sponsored, and even if you are sponsored, you're going to have to reapply because you're going there for a year in between. So yes, you'll have to reapply for a nomination.
Oh, okay. Apologies, I misunderstood that question.
Yeah. And just to recap, how many nominations is everyone available to apply for right off the bat, eligible to apply for? Cam or Lieutenant Dan?
Almost everyone gets at least 4, and that's vice president, 2 senators, and your congressman.
Awesome.
Oh, we got a couple people been paying attention.
Well, Ms. Harrison is on it, so we appreciate that. So I think we're ready. I think it's slowing down a little bit.
Actually, I would like to cover something we didn't go over in the presentation as sort of an extra nomination source. If you are in a school that has a JROTC unit, you may be able to get a nomination through your ROTC unit. If it is an honor unit, they can give you a nomination to any academy. Unfortunately, if they're not an honor unit, it can only be for that specific branch. But that's just another nomination source that you can get.
So thank you.
If we wear glasses, will that lower our chances or does it depend? Short answer is no. I used to wear glasses, and that was a great benefit of being at the academy is I had laser surgery and now I see better than 20/20.
And Mr. David Swingle, our area coordinator for the state of New Mexico, made a great point. There are a lot of nomination sources out there, and just like Lieutenant Dan had touched upon during his brief, just make sure you go to the Service Academy's website. The Naval Academy has a very extensive webpage that will tell you all the different kind of nominations that you might be eligible for.
All right, it does look like it's slowing down a bit. I think. Oh, big part about honor units and our JROTC. So NROTC, let's see, NJROTC, if you're in a Navy JROTC unit, they can provide, I think, 2 nominations per unit. If they are an honor unit, they can nominate to any academy. If they're not, it's just to the Naval Academy. But let's say you wanted to go to West Point, if you are in an honor JROTC unit, even a Navy ROTC, JROTC can nominate you to West Point.
Clear as mud, right?
What's the best thing you can do as a freshman to help you get in? Stay focused. stay focused, get involved, and honestly, one thing, just a personal perspective, that I wish I had started way earlier was start working out, start getting into fitness, because I found myself coming to the academy a little bit behind my peers.
Okay. Should we call it, Cam?
I think everyone's got their questions answered, but if you think of something later, our contact info will be put out. Or if not, if you don't remember, you didn't get the slide, just go to usna.edu/admissions. You'll be able to ask any question you want. You'll be put in contact with probably me, because I am the admissions counselor for all of New Mexico. So I look forward to hearing any other questions people think of later.
Well, thank you for all the engagement tonight. We're coming to the end of our time together here. I think we answered as much as we possibly could over that chat. Don't forget about the webinar tomorrow night. We have a webinar tomorrow night with the Coast Guard Academy and the Merchant Marine Academy. So always keep your options open. Two things about them. You don't need a nomination to go to the Coast Guard Academy. It's in Connecticut, just outside New York City. And the Merchant Marine Academy on Long Island, just outside of New York City, is a little known gem of a unique school. And you're gonna wanna hear what they have to offer, and that's tomorrow night, same time, same place. So even though you may think that you want to be a Marine or a naval aviator or be in the Army, educating yourself on all these options is extremely important. There are many avenues to attend college and to become a military officer in any branch of the service. Just check them all out. Do yourself that favor. Thank you for joining us today, and best wishes in pursuing all of your college options.
Have a good night.